It would seem that the storm refuses to pass, much like this desert's ties to Shurima. How about I tell you the story of Renekton's older brother Nasus, while we wait? Much of this tale you already know. Even from a young age, Nasus's brilliance was recognized by all, long before he was chosen to join the ranks of the Ascended. By his 10th summer, he had read all of the great works within the Library of the Sun, and before long, he was welcomed into the Collegium of the Sun, leaving his younger brother Renekton, whom he was close with, behind to fend for himself. While the pursuit of knowledge was ever his goal, his grasp on military strategy and tactics made him the youngest general in Shuriman history. While a competent soldier, his skill lay not in fighting the battles, but planning them. Always a dozen moves ahead of his enemies, Nasus was a deeply empathetic man. Any loss of his soldier's life because of his tactics or strategies pained him to his core. He ensured they were always well provisioned, paid on time, and treated fairly. Because of this, he was loved and respected by those who served in his legions. He would guide Shurima to countless victories. His brother was not left behind for long, joining him on the front lines of these wars, and the two of them quickly garnered an aura of invincibility. Nasus had no love for war, but he did understand its importance for ensuring the continued progress of the Empire. He truly believed that his greatest contribution to Shurima would be the knowledge he gathered for the future. He would go as far as to have the books and scrolls of their defeated enemies preserved in great libraries, so that Shurima might learn from its enemies. After decades of service to Shurima, Nasus was struck down by a terrible, incurable illness. The people of Shurima went into mourning. To them, Nasus was their brightest star. The Emperor himself stepped forward and begged the priesthood to commune with the great sun god. After a day and night, they declared that it was the god's will for Nasus to be blessed by the Ascension ritual. Renekton raced back to the capital, just in time to give himself in sacrifice to help Nasus, who was little more than a skeleton now, ascend the stairs to the great sun disk. As he stepped into the light, Renekton knew it would obliterate him. But Nasus would live on to serve Shurima for an eternity. By the grace of the sun gods, Renekton was not destroyed. And not one, but two ascended beings stood before Shurima as the light faded. Both brothers had been deemed worthy, and the Emperor himself dropped to his knees to give thanks to the divine. Nasus was now a towering, jackal-headed being of great strength, his eyes glittering with fierce intelligence. The greatest boon of his ascension, however, was his newly extended longevity, which allowed him countless lifetimes to spend in study and contemplation. Would, after the fall of Shurima, also proved to be his curse. After losing the Emperor and his brother Renekton to sealing him away to rid Shurima of Xerath, Nasus stood by while the Shuriman Empire collapsed all around him. Forced to watch as the holy sun disk fell from the sky, and the great central city sank beneath the sands. The waters that once flowed from the heart of the great city ceased to flow, and without them, death and famine fell over Shurima. Wandering the deserts, Nasus was burdened with a heavy guilt for having sealed his brother away. And after centuries of bearing this guilt, he had all but forgotten his old life and former purpose.
Perhaps Shurima was meant to fall.
That is, until a surviving member of the Emperor's bloodline would unseal the tomb of the Emperors. In that moment, he knew Xaereth was free, and it all came rushing back to him. Ancient vigor stirred in his breast, and as Shurima rose from the sands, Nasus traversed the desert, heading towards the reborn city.
I walk through the ages.
He knew he would battle Xaereth once more, yet hope stirred within him for the first time in a millennia. This might be the dawn of a new Shuriman empire. But he also dared to believe that it might be a long-awaited reunion with his beloved brother, Renekton.
The cycle of life and death continues. We will live, they will die.